Now everybody loves a Hilux, and for good reason. This vehicle is a heavy-duty pickup that's available in many developing countries of the world, and then in lots of countries where long-distance outback travel is required. So you'll find them in Australia, you'll find them in South Africa, you'll find them in several parts throughout Europe, and then you'll also find them in many of the developing countries around the world. So this is a little bit less expensive version of the 70 series Land Cruiser that a lot of the NGO and government organizations will use throughout the world. And the reason why this truck is so successful is because of how robust it's built. The foundation of this vehicle is obviously a 4-cylinder turbo diesel. It's called a D4D. It's a relatively strong motor, but more importantly than that, it's very frugal with fuel and extremely reliable. So in addition to that motor, what makes this truck unique is it's also a true metric ton vehicle. So what differentiates it from our Tacoma that we find in the United States is really payload. So the vehicle is set up right from the factory to be able to take a metric ton every day. So if you start with a good, reliable foundation, what are some things that we want to add to the truck? For Australia, obviously, a heavy-duty bull bar is a good idea. In my last couple days here, we have seen hundreds of kangaroos crossing the road, and I wouldn't even consider going into the outback without a product like this on the front of my truck. Another thing this vehicle has is a set of HID lights. Also has a Warn winch. This vehicle also has integrated side steps, which protects the truck in earthen berms, allows for a good step to access the roof, and then could also take pretty good rock hit as well. Now, another important feature on this vehicle for performance in technical terrain is the fitment of a small suspension lift. So this truck has an Old Man Emu suspension. It uprates the vehicle to take the weight of the bumper and the additional load, but it also increases articulation and improves ride and drive and handling on the dirt. Now, I've taken this vehicle on some high-speed dirt roads, and it really does handle fantastic. In fact, it's on par with some of the higher-end suspensions that I've fitted to my Tacoma. So that says a lot to me about how well they've tuned this suspension. Obviously, they spent a lot of time on it. And then in addition to that, they've fitted some larger mud terrain tires. These are about as large a diameter as you'd want to go on this vehicle for a couple reasons. First of all, the lift isn't that high. And then second of all, it has a front independent suspension with half shafts. If you go too large of a diameter tire, you're really going to compromise those half shafts when you lock the front differential. And speaking of differentials, this vehicle comes from the factory open diff, but it's been fitted with 2 air locker differentials. It has a rear air locker and a front air locker. And these are driver selectable, so if you're in really loose terrain, you're on muddy side slope, and you don't want to introduce any oversteer or understeer, you can keep the differentials open. If you get into a technical terrain, you can lock the rear, lock the front, and have them both locked if you need it in really, really tough stuff. So with the additional articulation, larger diameter tires, and really great locking differentials, this thing is quite the beast on the trail.